It was supposed to be one of the happiest chapters in their lives, but heartbreak struck suddenly for Jana Duggar and her husband, Stephen Wisman. Late last night, Jana was reportedly rushed to the hospital after suffering severe abdominal pain while pregnant with their first child. Eyewitnesses claim the Counting On star appeared pale and in visible distress as Stephen, looking terrified, held her hand tightly on the way to the emergency room. Sources close to the family revealed that Jana had been experiencing mild discomfort earlier in the day, but dismissed it as normal pregnancy pains. Within hours, however, the pain intensified, leaving her unable to stand. Stephen immediately called for help, and the couple was seen arriving at a local Arkansas hospital where medical teams acted swiftly. Witnesses say Stephen Wisman broke down in tears upon seeing Jana being wheeled into emergency care. He looked completely shattered, one insider shared. You could tell how deeply in love and scared he was for her and their baby. The scene reportedly left onlookers emotional as Stephen sat alone in the hospital corridor, praying and trembling, waiting for updates on both Jana and their unborn child. The Duggar family has not yet issued an official statement, but sources claim several family members, including Jessa and Joyanna, rushed to the hospital to be by Jana's side. Supporters have flooded social media with prayers and messages of hope, using hashtags like #PrayForJana and #DuggarFamilyStrong. Jana, known for her quiet strength and nurturing nature, has long been admired as the backbone of the Duggar family. Her journey into marriage and motherhood was celebrated by fans who had followed her for years, making this sudden health scare all the more devastating. As doctors continue to monitor both Jana and her unborn child, fans everywhere are holding their breath and praying for a positive outcome. For now, the family remains at the hospital, asking for privacy during this deeply emotional time.
No interviews, no statements, just photos. But in the Duggar family, every post tells a story. What is Anna Duggar really trying to say, and what did our expert uncover when analyzing her latest pictures? In recent weeks, Anna Duggar has quietly emerged from a long period of near silence, offering the world a subtle but telling visual update that is drawing considerable attention. In photos shared with very little fanfare, the former reality TV personality appears with her children in a community setting, clad in unflashy attire, with body language analysts reading into the details. One television expert on the family's former show has now suggested that those photos hold secret clues about her inner state. A long silence. Anna first gained public attention in the context of the reality series Counting On, which chronicled the extended family of the Duggar clan. Over the years, the family endured major upheavals: sexual abuse scandal, criminal charges, long-running legal and reputational fallout. Anna's husband, Josh Duggar, was deeply embroiled in these issues, and as a result, Anna withdrew from much of the public eye. For years, she appeared in social media posts only rarely. When she did, the commentary was minimal and the visual cues very guarded. A recent article describes how in late 2021, she was quiet on social media in the wake of the scandal involving her husband, and yet fans still attempted to spot clues in the few things she does post. The reemergence through photos. The trigger for renewed attention was snapshots that appeared in spring 2025, when Anna was photographed with her 7 children at a community venue in Arkansas. The images were reportedly uploaded by a family friend or spotted by local photographers, rather than via her own heavily promoted social media channels. In one image, the children flank Anna, and she stands in the center, wearing jeans and a neutral-colored top, her expression calm. In another, she is seen helping with a game or kids' activity, somewhat relaxed, but still clearly managing her presentation. The public reaction. Fans and media outlets began parsing everything from her posture to the color palette of her outfit. The expert decoding the clues. A commentator described as a Counting On expert suggested that Anna's photos are more than simple family snapshots. They are coded messages of her mental state and her attitude toward her past. According to this expert, her choice of loose, modest clothing signals a protective stance and a desire to avoid scrutiny. Her reserved facial expression indicates caution and perhaps emotional fatigue. The setting, family alone, no flashy branding or promotional photos, suggests she is intentionally keeping a low profile and controlling her narrative. The background context, the community venue in Arkansas rather than a luxurious setting, speaks to a return to roots and possibly resetting priorities. By reading the photos in this way, the expert argues that Anna is communicating three things: that she is present and active, caring for her children, that she is consciously withdrawing from public spectacle, and that she is rebuilding on her own terms. For example, the expert noted that in earlier years, Anna often appeared in curated, polished photo shoots for the show or promotional events. In contrast, these newer images have a subdued, almost earnest vibe. The implication? She is now living less for the camera and more for her private reality. Why this matters? Anna's movement from public figure to a more private one is significant for several reasons. Firstly, the Duggar family's brand, and the show Counting On, relied heavily on visibility, family spectacle, and a highly controlled image. By stepping away, Anna is bucking that model. Secondly, the scandal surrounding Josh Duggar cast a long shadow not only over him, but over the family's network, finances, and reputation. Anna's low-T approach may reflect a shift in focus from public redemption to private sustainability. Thirdly, for supporters and critics alike, her reemergence raises questions. Has she found a new sense of agency? Is she signaling readiness to return to some public engagement, or is she simply managing her life away from cameras? Social media versus real-life presentation. Interestingly, while many celebrity figures use social media to craft and broadcast messages, Anna seems to have used photos in a more indirect way, not via a statement, not via an intentionally captioned post, but simply via her presence in visual form. The absence of flashy branding, the minimal captioning, and the localized setting all suggest a deliberate choice. Media coverage has noted that although she remains largely out of the limelight, her appearances are being closely watched. One article pointed out that when she was spotted for the first time in 2 years at a local community event in December 2024, her body language drew commentary. Experts observed that she appeared tense, her hands tucked into extra-long sleeves, indicative of self-protection. Signs of renewal? About a month later, even those same analysts reported a shift. In new images, she appeared more relaxed, laughing, her posture looser, her expression more open. That shift was interpreted as evidence that Anna may be moving into a new phase, less defensive, somewhat more at ease. Taken together, the progression of images suggests a narrative arc, from retreat to cautious re-engagement to tentative ease. The expert Decoding argues that Anna is silently charting a personal evolution, and that the images function as markers of that journey. What the photos don't show. Despite the interest, it's worth noting what remains absent from the story. There is no formal public statement by Anna explaining her position, no syndicated interview to accompany the photos, and no obvious promotional effort. The photos are not obviously part of a brand relaunch or a reality TV announcement. They are quiet. Moreover, the visual clues, loose clothing, reserved posture, choice of venue, are subjective and open to interpretation. The expert's reading is just one possible lens, albeit one grounded in body language analysis and the family's public history. Without direct words from Anna herself, the meaning remains speculative. Fan and media reaction. Reaction among fans and observers has been mixed. Some longtime followers of Counting On view the photos as hopeful signs that Anna is reclaiming her own life and agency. They comment on social media threads that she seems stronger now, quieter but steadier. Others remain skeptical, wondering whether she is still tied into the family brand dynamics or what her husband's legal and personal situation means for her future. Media outlets have picked up on the story partly because it fits into the larger saga of the Duggar family: fame, scandal, collapse, reemergence. The visual clues angle adds a layer of intrigue. It's less about what was said and more about what might be shown or hidden. Expert commentary. Method and meaning. The expert cited in coverage uses standard methods of body language and behavioral reading: posture, clothing, hand placement, smile authenticity, eye contact, setting choice, group dynamics. Some of the key signifiers they mention: clothing looseness, meant to minimize attention, provide emotional insulation; hand or hands being hidden or in sleeves, a common self-protective stance; neutral face rather than broad smile, suggests caution rather than performance; group composition, the children surrounding Anna indicate her role remains central; venue choice, local, community event rather than high-profile media moment, signals privacy. From these, the expert infers that Anna is signaling, "I am here. I am caring for my family. I am not seeking the spotlight. I am holding space." In the next phase, the shift toward more relaxed body language may mean the protective shell is loosening, meaning she could be entering a calmer, personal state. What this might mean going forward. What could this visual shift translate to in real terms? A few possibilities. Reduced public profile. Anna may continue to live mostly off camera, with occasional family photos, but without large-scale media engagements. Window to future projects. The newer, more relaxed posture might signal that she is ambivalent but open to re-entering public life or launching a new venture, though quietly and on her own terms. The emphasis in the photos is clearly on family, children, community, rather than brand or show. This might mark a long-term reprioritization. Rather than respond to outside media speculation, Anna may be allowing her visual presence to speak for her, leaving a verbal commentary minimal. The context of previous controversies. Any interpretation of Anna's recent photos must be shaded by the wider backdrop of the Duggar family troubles. Her husband's criminal case cast a long shadow on the familia. Public trust, brand value, and internal family dynamics were deeply shaken. Against that backdrop, Anna's guardedness is perhaps not surprising. Media coverage of her earlier appearances noted that she carried a lot of tension and just wants to protect herself. A few months later, the shift toward genuine laughter and visible ease was picked up and interpreted as a positive turn. Thus, these new photo appearances are meaningful, not simply as family snapshots, but as indicators of a personal coping journey after years of trauma, public scrutiny, and relational instability. Criticisms and alternative interpretations. Of course, not everyone agrees with the reading of secret messages. Some critics argue that reading too much into clothing choices or a photo setting is speculative and imposes narratives. They caution against treating such images as definitive statements rather than momentary glimpses. Moreover, the expert label is loosely applied in some media reports. The supposed counting on expert may not be formally credentialed, and the interpretive framework is qualitative, not scientific. Some skeptics argue that the photos might simply reflect everyday life: a mother with children, at a community event, no coded message, no hidden meaning. Other commentators note the risk of conflating what is visible with what is true. Just because someone appears relaxed doesn't mean they are not struggling. Conversely, a serious expression doesn't always mean they are unhappy. The significance for the Duggar brand and family future. For the broader Duggar brand, once a major reality TV franchise, Anna's appearance matters. The show Counting On stalled when the family's scandals escalated. Public interest shifted. For some, Anna's reemergence signals that the family brand still has life, albeit in a different form. For others, it suggests that the brand is morphing into something more low-key, less polished, more grounded in real life. It also raises questions about the future of the family's public presence. Will Anna take part in new media? Will she launch a new outreach, book, public speaking circuit? Or will she remain behind the scenes, focusing on parenting, community, and private life? The visual signals in the recent photos lean toward the latter, but as all watchers know, signals can shift. Beyond the brand, the story is, at heart, human. Anna, after years of living in the glare of reality TV cameras and then the glare of scandal fallout, now appears to be recalibrating. The children she shares with Josh, the everyday demands of parenting, the quiet rhythms of community life, all are now central to the visible image. The protective stance, the guarded expressions, the moment of visible release, all speak to a journey of adjustment, resilience, possibly healing. In that sense, if the expert reading is accepted, the photos become more than pictures. They become milestones. The first appears as a marker of, I am still here, I am holding on. The later one becomes, I am loosening, I am letting some light in. If indeed there is a narrative of visual updates unfolding, what might the next chapter look like? Viewers might watch for a more polished but still modest set of photos to mark a return of sorts. A caption or minimal statement accompanying a photo that gives voice to what the visuals have suggested. A venue or event that shifts out of purely local community and into something more public, a book signing, a small speaking engagement, a charitable appearance. A subtle shift in wardrobe, perhaps brighter colors, more open posture, and less shielding clothing, which would reinforce the loosening up interpretation. Interactions or photos with broader circles, not only children and local community, but friends or extended family, indicating social reintegration. What Anna Duggar's recent photos show may be less about spectacle and more about signal. They signal presence, protection, gradual release, and a recalibrated public-private boundary. Whether the expert decoding is fully accurate or slightly speculative, the images do appear to reflect someone navigating change, from the demands of a highly visible past through a period of withdrawal to a tentative reemergence on her own terms. For fans of Counting On, for observers of reality TV aftermath, for those curious about the dynamics of public family, private life, and reinvention, these photos provide a quietly compelling chapter. Whether Anna will speak in fuller voice remains to be seen, but for now, her camera silent signals are rich with meaning. Experts in celebrity image management say Anna Duggar's quiet use of photographs, without captions, interviews, or explicit statements, belongs to a growing trend among public figures seeking control after crisis. Dr. Melissa Norton, a media psychology researcher unaffiliated with the Duggar family, explains, after major reputational trauma, speaking publicly can feel dangerous. Every word is scrutinized, quoted, dissected. By contrast, photos are ambiguous. They can suggest healing, continuity, or distance without committing to a narrative. In other words, silence becomes a form of speech. Anna's fans, and detractors, fill the silence with interpretation, which paradoxically keeps her relevant while allowing her plausible deniability. Norton adds that this strategy often follows a predictable rhythm: withdrawal, soft re-entry, gradual reframing. First, the subject disappears, often after intense scandal. Then, they reappear in a lower-stakes environment, allowing the audience to reacclimate. Over time, the public perception shifts from person associated with scandal to person moving on. Anna's photos, then, could be read as step 2, the soft re-entry. Her muted tones, natural setting, and lack of overt messaging support this interpretation. The Duggar family's pattern of coded communication. The idea of using subtle signs or visual language is not new to the Duggar family. Viewers of 19 Kids and Counting and later Counting On have long noted that the family's media output, Instagram posts, YouTube clips, even Christmas cards, frequently relied on understated cues. When controversies arose in the past, family members often avoided addressing them directly. Instead, they shared uplifting Bible verses, family portraits, or seemingly unrelated holiday greetings, which fans interpreted as symbolic commentary. A verse about forgiveness might appear after a scandal broke. A baby announcement might divert attention from bad press. A smiling family shot could act as reassurance amid rumors of division. Anna, who married into this media-savvy but insular family, learned to communicate in the same understated language. In that sense, her current photo clues fit the established family playbook, though the tone is markedly different, quieter, humbler, and less polished. Visual cues. The details that fueled speculation. Observers have zeroed in on small details in the recent photos. The ring. Some shots clearly show Anna still wearing her wedding ring. For some, this signals continuing loyalty to her imprisoned husband. For others, it's simply habit or privacy, an unwillingness to perform divorce or reconciliation publicly. The footwear. Analysts noted that Anna wore practical sneakers rather than the modest pumps she once favored on the show. A minor detail, but to some, it indicated comfort over presentation, another sign of detachment from the TV persona. Hair and grooming. Long known for her carefully curled hair, Anna now appears with a simpler, straight style. Image experts say such a change can symbolize shedding an old identity. Background props. In one photo, a small children's toy set can be seen, a reminder of domestic life continuing quietly behind the headlines. Color palette. The soft grays and blues of her clothing are often interpreted as neutral or calming, tones associated with reflection and emotional regulation. To outsiders, these may seem like coincidences, but for longtime followers of the Duggar saga, accustomed to decoding everything from courtship rules to dress codes, the smallest cues become symbolic. Public sympathy and fatigue. Among the wider public, responses fall into two camps: sympathy and fatigue. Sympathetic fans express concern for Anna as a woman caught between faith, loyalty, and trauma. They comment online that she didn't deserve what happened and admire her commitment to her children. Many view her as a symbol of endurance. On the other side are those who are weary of the Duggar family's ongoing media afterlife. For them, Anna's photos are not courageous or mysterious, they're simply remnants of a brand that should fade. Critics argue that continued coverage, even of subtle photo clues, sustains a cycle of fascination that prevents real closure. Still, clicks and shares suggest the audience hasn't moved on entirely. Each new image reignites the conversation, proving that the Duggar name remains magnetically charged. Silence as a double-edged sword. Media analysts point out that Anna's silence can both protect and trap her. Protection comes from ambiguity. By saying little, she avoids direct criticism or misquotation. But silence can also freeze her image. Without words to define herself, others define her. Fans, tabloids, experts. Some psychologists liken this to the paradox of passive communication. The less you say, the more others project onto you. Over time, public identity becomes a mirror reflecting collective speculation. This may explain why every few months, Anna's photos are decoded anew. She becomes an object of interpretation rather than an active storyteller. Inside sources, quiet resilience. A person described by In Touch Weekly as close to the family reportedly said Anna's focus now is on her kids and faith community, adding that she's trying to live a normal life away from cameras. That same source emphasized that Anna isn't ready to talk publicly, and the photos people see are just life happening, not statements. Yet the very act of being photographed, especially when one's every move attracts attention, becomes inherently communicative. Even a casual snapshot can read like a press release. How the fandom decodes. Online sleuthing culture. One reason Anna's imagery draws this analysis lies in the unique fandom culture around the Duggar family. Threads titled, "Anna's latest outfit, what does it mean?" or "Still wearing the ring?" populate discussion boards.